Revealed, desperate single dad's last dollar spent on diapers, then an incredible CEO steps up. Jake stared at the empty wallet in his hand, his heart pounding against his chest like a drum of despair. He spent the last few coins on diapers for Ellie, his precious newborn daughter. The thought of eviction loomed like a heavy cloud overhead, blocking out any sliver of hope. He couldn't shake the feeling of being trapped, like a ship in a storm that had lost its sails. How had he ended up here? A widowed father at just 35, struggling to juggle the needs of his two young children in a small, crumbling house that barely felt like home anymore. The loss of Sarah had turned his life to gray, with each day blending into the next in a blur of grief and responsibility. Tears welled in his eyes as he watched his son, Max, playing with blocks on the floor, his laughter a haunting reminder of what they had lost. But today, there was a glimmer of light. The community was coming together for a charity event at the diner where he used to work. Reluctantly, Jake decided to go, clinging to the flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, someone could help keep his family afloat. The diner was always a lively place, filled with laughter and the smell of hot coffee. But today, the warmth seemed distant to him as he walked through the door. As laughter bounced off the walls, Jake found himself overwhelmed by feelings of inadequacy. He overheard snippets of conversation that sliced at him like a knife, people murmuring about fathers like him, labeling him as a failure for not being able to provide. It felt like a noose tightening around his neck. Just as he contemplated sneaking out unnoticed, chaos erupted. A child tumbled to the ground, crying out in pain, and the room transformed into a whirlwind of anxiety. In that moment, Sarah stepped forward. He watched her rush to the child, her calm presence flowing like a balm over the chaos. She comforted the little one, her fierce compassion cutting through the tension. Jake felt something stir inside him as he took in her poise, her confidence. Then their eyes met. An electric charge filled the air, a connection that shook him to his core. He stepped closer, heart racing, understanding flickering in the space between them. Here was a woman who had risen from struggles like his own, her past painted with hardship and resilience. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the evening unfolded, Jake felt the community rallying around him. Each nod, each supportive word wrapped around him like a warm hug, a promise that they weren't just looking at him, but actually seeing him. Here, in the midst of laughter and warmth, his barriers began to crack. Could he allow himself to accept help? Could he bridge that gap between pride and vulnerability? As the event continued, Jake stood at the edge, teetering between fear and hope, a single father on the brink of rediscovery, the chance for something new rising like dawn on the horizon. In that charged atmosphere, the night began to weave a new narrative, leaving him waiting for a sign of what might come next. An hour into the event, laughter and conversation filled the diner, transforming the space into a refuge. Jake shifted on his feet, feeling the warmth from the crowd, yet a cold tension still clasped at his insides. It was hard to breathe when the thought of his family's dire situation loomed over him like a storm. He watched people connect, share stories, and as the music played softly in the background, moments of joy washed over him. Yet, a dark cloud hung on him. He caught sight of Sarah again, her vibrant energy a stark contrast to his heavy heart. She was in the center of a small group, her laughter ringing out like a beacon. It stirred something deep within him, a yearning that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. What was that connection speaking to him? Could he dare to take a step toward it? As minutes passed, he found himself gravitating towards her, drawn in like a moth to flame. Her energy was infectious, lighting up the dim corners of his despair. The thought surged maybe he could start fresh, rebuild a life for his children. His thoughts spiraled until a deep breath reminded him to stay present. Jake! A voice cut through the noise, pulling him from his reverie. It was Karen, an old friend from his diner days. Her familiar smile held a sympathy that settled over him like a comforting blanket, but felt suffocating at the same time. Hey, Karen, he greeted, trying to sound upbeat despite the tension still lurking just below the surface. Things look rough, don't they? She said, her warm brown eyes searching his own. I've seen you around. We're all here for you. You know that, right? He wanted to believe her. I know, but sometimes it feels like I'm just slipping through the cracks. Karen nodded, her expression softening. You're not alone, Jake. We're family here. Have you considered handing things over to a few charities? There are resources available. Jake opened his mouth to respond, but an overwhelming wave of emotions cut him off. If he accepted help, it meant admitting he couldn't do it all himself. That fear gripped his heart tightly. He thought of Max and Ellie. Getting the kids comfortable and settled had always been his top priority. Karen's phone buzzed loudly, dragging her attention away. He watched her as she prepped to leave, but not before she extended her hand, a lifeline in a tumultuous sea. Remember, you can reach out anytime. Just don't isolate yourself, Jake. As she walked away, he noticed Sarah glancing his way, her head tilting ever so slightly in curiosity. He took a deep breath, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly, fueled by her unspoken encouragement. Maybe he could take that risk and connect with someone again. The evening carried on, and little by little, Jake found his footing. Each supportive smile fueled his courage, slowly melting away the weight of shame that clung to him. Heartbeats quickened when Sarah moved closer to him, her voice soft as she asked, "How are you holding up?" Before he could answer, he felt a rush of honesty. "I'm still figuring things out, but you make it seem easier." Just then, a sudden noise echoed through the diner. Laughter transformed into gasps as a young boy darted through the crowd, pointing excitedly at an oversized check being presented on stage. The CEO of a well-known company had just arrived, and every eye turned toward the front. Jake's heart raced as he felt the stirrings of something unexpected. Could this be the breakthrough he needed? But the real question struck him. What if this moment revealed more than he could have ever anticipated? The atmosphere in the diner shifted instantly, a thickened anticipation settling over the crowd like a heavy fog. People leaned forward, their eyes glued to the stage where the CEO, a sharply dressed man with a bright smile, adjusted the microphone. Jake felt the electric buzz of excitement, but couldn't shake the dread from his mind. All he could think about were the expenses piling up, one after another, and how he barely scraped by each day for Max, and Ellie as the CEO began to speak. Jake caught snippets of words that barely registered. Something about community involvement, helping those in need, and a commitment to making a real difference. He swallowed hard, a lump forming in his throat. Hope flickered, then dimmed. How many times had he hoped for a miracle only to face harsh reality? Beside him, Sarah's expression was one of rapt attention, her eyes wide, sparkling with belief in the words spoken. He turned to her, willing himself not to share in the optimism. "What are they offering?" he asked, keeping his voice low, fighting the urge to lean closer to her warmth. She glanced back at him, her lips curling into an encouraging smile. "I think they're announcing a scholarship program for families facing challenges. This is their way of giving back." Her excitement seeped into him, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside. As the CEO revealed the details, the crowd erupted into cheers. Jake felt knots tightening in his belly. A scholarship would be great if he could afford to maintain a stable life for his children. But would they accept someone like him? Would they even consider a single dad struggling to make ends meet? Then came the moment that made his heart skip a beat. "Tonight, we're also giving away $50,000 to a family who could truly use a lift. A chance to get back on their feet," the CEO declared, his voice ringing with conviction. Gasps and whispers rippled through the crowd. Jake froze, his mind racing through the implications. Could this be the door he needed? Could this be part of the change he desperately longed for? Sarah turned to him, her eyes shimmering with excitement. "You should go for it, Jake. This is what you've been waiting for." The thought of standing in front of all those people, pleading for help, was terrifying. What if I don't get picked? It sounded foolish even as he spoke. But what if you do? She countered softly, her encouragement only amplifying the inner conflict brewing inside him. As the man on stage continued to talk about the importance of community, Jake felt the weight of his past and his children's future bearing down on him. As he glanced over to Max and Ellie, who were absorbed in the spectacle, he realized something crucial. He had to at least try. With a new sense of determination surging within him, He looked back at Sarah. "Okay, I will," he said, heart pounding in his chest. "Good. You can do this," she said, her smile brightening his surge of anxiety. The CEO began to walk through the crowd, handing out cards to participants vying for the opportunity. "Step up if you believe you deserve a chance." Jake's legs felt heavy as he prepared to rise, but with one final glance at Sarah, he pushed himself through the throng. The moment felt monumental, charged with hope and fear as he crossed into uncharted territory. His heart thudded, echoing the support from the diner that surrounded him. What if this truly was a turning point? But then the most pressing question lingered. What if, against all odds, this moment could change everything for him and his kids? As the microphone crackled to life once more, Jake took a deep breath and stepped into the spotlight. The crowd parted, and all eyes turned on him. Would this be the breakthrough he desperately sought, or the rise of yet another missed opportunity? Jake stood in the glaring lights, feeling the weight of 100 pairs of eyes on him. His heart raced as a mixture of hope and terror coursed through him. He could feel the hum of the diner around him, the expectant silence filled with whispered encouragement. He had done this for his kids, to show Max and Ellie that their dad was fighting to give them a better future. He gripped the card in his hand tightly, the jagged edges pressing into his palm as he swallowed hard. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward, pushing the fear deep inside. The CEO smiled down at him, keen interest painted across his face. "Tell us your story," the CEO urged, in a voice that somehow felt warm and welcoming, rather than overwhelming. Jake's voice wavered as he began. "My name is Jake. I'm a single dad with 2 kids, Max and Ellie. We've been struggling." His voice cracked, memories of sleepless nights and long days flooding his mind. He pressed on. "I work multiple jobs to make ends meet, but every month it feels like I'm running further behind." A murmur rippled through the crowd, but he continued. "Just last week, I had to choose between groceries and diapers. I know what it's like to feel hopeless, to question if I'm enough for them." Tears threatened to spill, but he blinked them back. This wasn't just his story. It was a plea for help. He caught a glimpse of Max and Ellie, their eyes wide, filled with pride and concern. That look drove his next words. "I want to give them a real chance. They deserve more than just survival. They deserve to thrive." His voice grew steadier, fueled by the love he felt for his children. The CEO nodded, clearly moved. "Thank you, Jake. Your bravery to stand here today is inspiring." The crowd clapped, a wave of warmth washing over him. But it wasn't enough to quell the uncertainty. "Now," the CEO continued, "we have a special panel that will select one family to receive the $50,000 we announced. Jake, the community wants to hear your story, but it's also important to know what you would do with that money." Jake felt a jolt of realization. What would he do? He began, hesitating for just a moment. "I'd pay off my debts. I'd make sure my kids have a stable home, a safe place. I want to enroll Max in soccer and get Ellie the books she needs for school. I want them to feel secure and loved." Flashes of doubt trickled back in. Would that be enough to sway the panel? Was his story compelling enough? The CEO's gaze scanned the room, electric with potential. "Everyone, this is what community means, supporting each other in times of need. Jake's story is just one of many. Together, we can lift each other." The crowd erupted into applause. Jake could feel the energy, the undercurrent of shared hopes and dreams swirling around him. He couldn't believe how quickly it was building inside him, the sense of belonging, of purpose, but he still needed more. More than just applause. The room began to buzz with anticipation. The CEO pointed into the crowd, calling for others to share their stories. Jake stepped back, uncertainty seeping back in. Did he really stand a chance? A random choice made before the crowd? Then, in the middle of 2 stories that felt heavier than his, something caught his ear. "I was once a single father myself. I can relate to your struggle." His heart quickened. Was the panel forming a connection? As he turned to Sarah, catching her eyes, her encouraging smile, still glowing despite the stress of the moment, Jake felt an unexpected strength. He wasn't just standing alone in this spotlight. He was part of something bigger. With each story shared, Jake's hope grew. But would it be enough? The panel was about to announce their decision. Would he be the one chosen to find lifebuoy in his storm-tossed sea? And all of a sudden, doubt crept in once more, feeding his anxiety. What if fate had a different path for them? The room fell into a hush as the panel leaned forward, ready to make their announcement. Jake's heart pounded like a drum, each beat echoing the hope and fear that swirled within him. He stole another glance at Max and Ellie, their faces a canvas of anticipation, a mixture of pride and worry etched in their features. Their belief in him was palpable, a lifeline. The CEO cleared his throat, glancing first at Jake before addressing the crowd. Today, we heard powerful stories of resilience, courage, and hope. All the families that spoke are deserving, but only one will receive the grant. His words trailed off, tension thickening the air. Jake held his breath, feeling the weight of the crowd's expectations. He remembered his last paycheck, how it barely covered the rent, let alone the necessities. The reminder of having to choose between food and diapers twisted in his stomach. He squeezed the card again, grounding himself. A woman's voice broke through the silence. I just want a chance. I just need to support my daughter. Another story echoed from the other side, full of desperation and dreams unfulfilled. It struck Jake that every story mattered, every life faced its own battles. But today, his was the one highlighted in this moment. The CEO finally spoke again, his tone softening. And after much consideration, we believe that Jake's story stands out, not just for the struggle he faced, but for the immense love he carries for his children. Jake's heart raced. Was this really happening? He felt the world tilt on its axis, hope unfurling like a flower in spring. Applause erupted, but it felt distant, like a dream experiencing a miracle too good to be true. Jake, the CEO said, we'd like to offer you the $50,000 grant. It's not just money, it's a chance to create a stable future for Max and Ellie. As the realization sank in, tears filled Jake's eyes, making it hard to see. The room spun, and cheers mingled with the sound of his own racing heartbeat. He blinked hard, grounding himself against the wave of emotion. A wave of cheers swept through the diner, voices rising into a chorus of celebration. It was overwhelming. Thank you, he managed to shout, his voice trembling with gratitude. He pointed to his kids. This is for them. They deserve it. The love in his heart expanded, radiating through him. The applause intensified, and he felt as if he were floating, renewed, as if the burdens of his past were being lifted. As he began to step back, a thought hit him. It wasn't just about them getting the money. He was about to step into a future filled with new possibilities. And yet, even amid the joy, a flicker of anxiety crept back in. What would it take to truly change everything? Was he capable enough to not only accept help, but to use it effectively? When was the best time to tell Max and Ellie the news? Just then, a voice he recognized cut through the buzzing room. Jake, wait. Can we talk? It was Sarah, her eyes wide, filled with urgency. Jake hesitated, feeling the world around him fade into a blur. Everything he had just fought for hung delicately in the balance. What could she possibly want to discuss now, when everything seemed perfect? His heart raced again, but this time it was a mix of curiosity and concern. What could she reveal that would change everything? Sure, he said, his voice suddenly unsteady. What words could change the course of this incredible moment? Sarah stepped closer, and the noise of the celebration began to fade, the clinking of glasses and laughter becoming a distant murmur. She hesitated, searching for the right words, her hands fidgeting in front of her. Jake, I don't know how to say this. Her voice was a mix of urgency and fear. But I heard something that might affect you, and the grant. A knot formed in Jake's stomach as he focused on her. What do you mean? Is it about the grant? Have they changed their mind? His mind raced with worst-case scenarios. No. She rushed to assure him. It's just I overheard someone say that the grant was intended for more than just financial support. It comes with strings attached. Strings? His stomach twisted further. What does that mean? He said they might want something in return, like a commitment to a program, or even a public announcement about what you'll do with the funds. They want a story, a billboard of success. Jake's heart sank. He thought he'd finally gotten the break he needed, and now it felt like a door was closing just as it had opened. Do you think I'm not capable of handling this? His voice was sharp, more defensive than he intended. No, that's not what I meant, Sarah replied, her eyes softening. I just don't want you to get blindsided. You need to decide what you're comfortable with. He took a breath, trying to steady the thoughts that collided in his head. The joy of the moment was quickly overshadowed by uncertainty. What do I want? He thought. grappling with the weight of responsibility that lay ahead. He looked back to Max and Ellie, their faces still lit up with pride. This moment was about them, not just grants or expectations. What should I do? He wondered silently, feeling the burden of choices cloud his elation. Listen, Sarah continued carefully. If you need someone to help you navigate this, I'd be more than willing. I know people in the organization and can get clarity on what they really want from you. Jake thought about it. Community support had always been something he valued, but this felt different. He didn't want to be used or made to perform just to earn his children a future. But then he realized that maybe he could blend it together. Perhaps he could share his story, bring more attention to those like him still struggling, while also protecting his children's future. Okay, Jake said, his voice steadying a little more. Let us see what they want. But I'll make it clear that it's about my kids, not just me. Exactly. Sarah's relief was palpable. I'm just a text away if you need anything. As she stepped back into the crowd, Jake felt his heart thumping with a mix of hope and fear. This opportunity was theirs, but it didn't come without challenges. He was now standing on a precipice, ready to leap into an unknown future. Jake forced a smile as he turned back to his kids, but the reality of what lay ahead sank in deeper. The excitement he felt moments ago felt fragile, tinged with a newfound weight. Needed or wanted. As the cheers began to swell again, he straightened his shoulders. It was time to embrace this journey, but could he really shape it as he wished? What lies ahead would prove how strong his resolve truly was. Suddenly, just as he was about to join the celebration again, a figure approached him, casting a long shadow. He turned, stunned to see an unexpected face. Jake, I've been searching for you. We need to talk about your future. This isn't just about the grant anymore. Jake's heart raced as he took in the familiar face before him. It was Liam, a former colleague from the nonprofit where they had both once worked tirelessly, trying to uplift their community. The warmth that Jake usually felt around him was replaced with an anxious anticipation. Liam? He asked, confusion painting his features. What do you mean at isn't just about the grant? Liam shifted his weight, visibly uncomfortable. I know this might come as a shock, but there's more than just funding involved. I've been following your journey, and, well, I think they see you as a potential leader for a new initiative. They want to put you front and center. Front and center? Jake echoed, the term hitting him like a cold wave. I'm just a dad trying to make ends meet. I don't think I'm cut out for that. Jake, listen. You're doing more than you realize. The work you've started in this community has touched a lot of lives. This isn't just about you. It's bigger than that. They want you to be a voice of face for the program they're creating. Jake felt a swell of pride mixed with fear. Being the voice meant exposure. It meant vulnerability. But that sounds overwhelming. What if I'm not ready for it? Liam stepped closer, his expression earnest. You might not feel ready, but this could be your chance to not only secure your future, but also to transform the community. You could help families like yours. Jake took a step back, his mind racing. Could he do it? Could he really navigate the expectations laid out before him? The fear of failure clawed at his insides, but the thought of making a real difference, of being heard, brought warmth to his chest. Still, the uncertainty weighed heavily on him. What did this mean for Max and Ellie? Would he be putting their future in jeopardy? Look, Liam continued, noticing Jake's inner turmoil. You have people rooting for you, and I'm one of them. If you just let them use your story as a billboard, you'll be weighed down instead of lifting your family up. Jake nodded slowly, the conflict deepening within him. Could he share his journey authentically? Could he transform his struggle into something constructive? The thought flickered in his mind, the flame of hope flickering amidst the shadows of doubt. Okay, he finally said, swallowing hard. If this is about helping others, I want to do it. I'll need guidance, though. This is more than just me now. Absolutely, Liam said, a spark of enthusiasm lighting his eyes. We'll figure it out together. You're not alone in this. It's about creating a legacy for your kids, one that inspires. Jake's heart beat rapidly. Legacy. The thought of that word hung in the air, heavy yet exhilarating. His kids. The image of Max and Ellie glimmered in his mind, happy, hopeful, and proud that as the music and laughter of the celebration resumed, Jake felt strangely anchored. Summoning resolve, he watched as others enjoyed the moment. But then doubt crept back in. Liam, what if I fail? What if they just want to exploit my story? They might, Liam admitted, expression serious. But that's why it's vital to stay authentic and set your boundaries. If you go in with your heart in the right place, you'll be okay. Jake took a deep breath, the air catching in his lungs. So much was riding on this, and the uncertainty buzzed like static all around him. What if I can't hold all of this? He thought, glancing at the festival lights twinkling like stars across the night sky. The shimmering possibilities felt like a thin veil of hope. Wavering yet present, he needed to talk to Sarah, and decide what he truly wanted from this situation. Determined to meld his world with the unexpected, he looked at Liam again. Let us do this. I want to be a voice, but I want to let them twist my story. Exactly. Liam grinned, the weight lightening between them. But as Jake looked toward the buzzing scene of celebration, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something monumental. A door was about to open, and glaring through it were either opportunities or pitfalls. Before he let himself get lost in the moment, he hesitated. What happens next? What if I don't know the way? The question hung in the air, heavy and urgent, leaving Jake reeling with anticipation for what lay ahead. The festival's energy swirled around Jake, a cacophony of laughter, music, and vibrant colors. Yet here he stood, tethered by an invisible thread of anxiety. Each beat of his heart resonated with the weight of his decision. He had stepped into the unknown, opening himself up to both hope and fear in equal measures. Liam's gaze was steady, a sure anchor amidst the chaos around them. Jake, before you dive into this, you need to clarify what you want. It's important to know where you stand, he said, his voice firm yet encouraging. Jake turned his focus inward, a whirlwind of thoughts. What did he truly want? Was it fame? Recognition? No. He craved impact, the chance to help others like him, families struggling to make ends meet. But how much of his own struggle should he reveal? Let us take it one step at a time, Jake finally said, the resolve shimmering in his voice. I want to make a difference in my community, but I can't lose myself in the process. Liam nodded, relief washing over his face. That's the spirit. Let us start from the beginning. What resonates with you? What story do you want to tell? Jake found himself reflecting deeply, memories flooding back of sleepless nights, battling bills, and the moments of joy that somehow managed to break through the darkness. He thought of Max and Ellie, their laughter ringing like music in his ears. There was a truth in those late-night talks and the way they planned family dinners around a small table. I think I want to talk about perseverance, about the strength we find in loving and supporting each other. That's what keeps us going. Perfect, Liam replied, his eyes lighting up. Your authenticity will resonate with so many. There's power in vulnerability, Jake. Don't be afraid of sharing the real story. Just then, Jake spotted Max and Ellie across the fairgrounds, holding cotton candy, their giggles rising above the noise. A wave of warmth flooded through him. That innocence, that joy, they should be the driving force behind everything he did. Hey, he said, grabbing Liam's attention. I need to bring them into this. They deserve to see their dad fight for something bigger than himself. Absolutely, Liam said, a proud smile gracing his face. Let us build your narrative together, one that includes your family. Their story is part of yours. Jake nodded, his vision becoming clearer. The path ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, moments of uncertainty. Yet, there was something exhilarating about taking on this new role, about finding his voice and using it as the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the festival. Jake felt a shiver of anticipation run through him. The flickering lights mirrored his intention, a hope sparking against the night's encroachment. But as he moved to rejoin his children, someone stepped into his path, casting a shadow. A familiar face, but one he hadn't seen in years, Sarah's mother, Claire. Uncertainty washed over him immediately. What was she doing here after all this time? Their history was complicated, tangled in years of strained family dynamics, and the image of disappointment loomed over them like heavy clouds. Jake, Claire said, voice measured, but there was an urgency beneath it. We need to talk. He felt his breath hitch in his throat, worry spiking like a sudden chill. The opportunity he was grasping could very well be overshadowed by the unresolved past. What could she possibly want from him now? As their eyes locked, Jake felt the gravity of the moment settle over him. With everything he was about to undertake, was he ready to face his past? Would it take him off course, Or could it somehow lead him to a deeper understanding that would empower his mission? Taking a deep breath, Jake squared his shoulders. All right, Claire, let us talk. And as they began to walk away from the vibrant celebration, Jake couldn't shake the nagging thought. What unexpected revelations would this conversation bring to light? Jake followed Claire, his heart pounding like a distant drum, echoing the joyful chaos of the festival he was leaving behind. The laughter and cheers faded as they stepped into a quieter area, illuminated only by a few scattered lights twinkling like stars. What did Claire want? The last time they spoke, words had been sharp as knives, leaving both of them wounded. First, I'm really sorry for showing up like this, Claire started, her voice trembling slightly. But I need to talk to you about Sarah. Jake clenched his fists, memories rushing in uninvited. Sarah's absence had left a gaping hole in their lives, and hearing her name shifted the ground beneath him. What about her? He tried to keep his tone even, but the edginess slipped through, like sand falling from his grasp. She has been trying to reach out. Jake, she is struggling, Claire said, her eyes wide with something resembling desperation. I thought she was managing, but she really isn't. And I believe she wants to make amends. She needs help. And you're the only person she trusts. That hit hard. Jake had spent years trying to bury the past, to build a new life for himself and his kids. The thought of Sarah wanting to reconnect sparked both hope and resentment inside him. After everything, she still thinks I want anything to do with her? Things have changed for her, Claire insisted, stepping toward him. She has been in therapy, trying to get clean, trying to be better. But she is struggling with feelings of guilt and shame, and she still cares about you, Jake. I thought maybe, just maybe, if you could talk to her. Jake's heart raced, leaping between anger and compassion. Could he face the woman who had so deeply impacted his life? The mother of his child, who left and broken so much in her wake. What makes you think I'd even consider it? He leaned in, confused by the swirling downpour of emotions. Because you're a good man, Claire said, her voice steadying. I've watched you struggle to give Max and Ellie the best life possible. You've persevered, and that's what Sarah admires about you. She wants to be part of that, even if it's just to apologize. You can help her start to heal. Jake felt the weight of Claire's words. Deep down, buried beneath layers of hurt, was a flicker of something, an idea that maybe reconciliation was possible. But was he ready for it? Would that mean shattering the fragile stability he had built for his family? Let us say I'm willing. What does that even look like? He asked, his voice quieter now. Claire sighed, relief washing over her face. I can bring you to her. But, Jake, you need to be open. It could be painful, revisiting the past. Just keep your heart guarded and your children's safety in mind. You are their anchor. An unexpected rush of warmth enveloped him at her words. The thought of being an anchor not just for Max and Ellie, but for Sarah too felt enormous, yet oddly comforting. Fighting the flood of memories, Jake found himself at a crossroads. Could he take the risk? Could he be a source of strength for both his children and Sarah? In that moment, with the festival's noise still ringing in his ears, he felt a deep calling within himself. Okay, he said, his voice steadying. Let us try. I'll meet with her. Claire smiled, hope igniting the night. But as Jake turned back toward the festival lights, a new dread settled in. Would this journey to find common ground rip apart the delicate threads he had so carefully woven into his life? With everything on the line, the festival's vibrant colors dimmed ever so slightly as he contemplated the next steps. And just beyond the golden glow, the shadows hinted at the unexpected paths this decision would lead him down. What would he discover about himself and his family as they navigated these treacherous waters? Jake stood silently, watching the festival lights dance like stars above the heads of the gathered crowd. His heart was a flurry of emotions: anxiety, hope, fear, and even a bit of excitement. After so much uncertainty, he had taken a decisive step. He was ready to face the shadows of his past and embrace the future, come what may. As Claire led him toward the place where Sarah awaited, Jake couldn't shake the tight knot of apprehension in his stomach. The last time he saw her, they had been engulfed in a whirlwind of pain. Would this conversation spark healing or stir up old wounds? Remember, you don't have to force anything, Claire reassured him as they walked. Just listen and take it one step at a time. The world around him faded to a low hum as he approached the small table under the flickering lights. Sarah sat there, her figure smaller than he remembered, shadows of regret clouding her eyes. Goodness, did grief transform people so drastically? It felt simultaneously comforting and alienating to be near her again. Jake, Sarah whispered, her voice trembling like fragile glass. I didn't think you'd come. He took a deep breath, forcing his voice to stay steady. Claire told me you wanted to talk. For a moment, silence weighed heavy between them, filled only by the distant laughter and cheers from the diner, where lives were being uplifted, futures being transformed. Thank you for listening, she finally said, a small spark of courage flashing in her eyes. I know I hurt you. I'm sorry for everything. I didn't mean to drag you into darkness. Her admission was raw, and it cut through the wall he had built. He wanted to respond, but the mix of anger and empathy tangled his thoughts. Do you realize what you've put us through? He managed. I fought so hard to build a life for our kids, and it felt like you yanked the rug out from under us. Tears welled in her eyes. I know, and I'm still facing the consequences of my choices. But I want to change, Jake. I want to be a better person for you and for our kids. The sincerity in her voice stirred something inside him. It was a glimpse of the girl he had known, the one who flashed bright with laughter and dreams. Yet, shadows loomed where hope had once danced. What would that even look like? He asked, courage faltering as uncertainty rose. Can you be the mother they deserve? I've been in therapy, she said, voice trembling but determined. I'm working hard to get better. I miss them. I want to reconnect if you'd let me. His heart ached, swaying between anger and an undeniable yearning for the family they could have been. With Max and Ellie growing so quickly, he longed for her to share in their lives. But would she stick around this time? Understand this, Sarah, Jake said, voice firm yet soft. If you want to be in their lives, you need to show up fully. No half measures. They deserve a whole mother, not someone who disappears again. I swear I'll prove it, she said, firm determination replacing her previous doubt. I won't let you down again. There was a silence that lingered, rich with possibility. Perhaps this was the beginning of something new. Perhaps healing could be a path forged from pain and regret. Would our kids even want you around? He asked cautiously, looking for the truth behind her words. They've been through so much. I think they might, she replied, realizing the weight of his question. I've missed so many milestones. I can only hope they'll accept me back. Jake envisioned Max's and Ellie's faces, full of innocence and yearning, longing for love. They would need time, but could he truly give Sarah that opportunity? The past tugged at his heart, but the future beckoned with shimmering light. All right, he said finally, the tension in his shoulders easing. Let us take it slow. I'll introduce you to them, but this won't be easy. You have to earn their trust and mine. Thank you, she breathed, tears glistening like fresh dew. The warmth blossomed between them, crackling like static electricity, reminding Jake that growth often followed pain. Maybe their story could branch out, transform into something more, something rooted in the power of second chances and the resilience that families were built on. As they stood there, tentative yet hopeful, Claire's reassuring words echoed in Jake's mind. Whatever the future held, he was prepared now to embrace the unknown. As the laughter from the festival echoed, he could see Max and Ellie waving brightly, joy radiating from their little bodies. Jake turned to Sarah, his heart pounding, tethered to the truth that the journey ahead would require both of them to grow beyond the scars. Let us give it a shot, Jake said, his smile breaking through the tension. For the kids, let us show them what love and forgiveness can look like. Sarah's eyes lit up, a spark of something beautiful shining bright and pure. And as Jake stepped closer to the noise and brightness of the festival, he felt a new chapter unfolding before them, laden with promise, challenge, and above all, love. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to follow every twist and turn in stories like this. This is the moment to show your support. So leave a like now to feed the algorithm that brings you these heartwarming narratives. Don't leave without commenting your thoughts and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters. And hey, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the power of transformation in their lives. Don't wait not even one more second to share the message of hope, because the world needs it.